Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba.
Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started.
Oh, that smooth, mellow music. Oh, man, you would think that I would get this all set up before we went live. I'm sitting here without microphone monitoring, and it sounds like I'm at the bottom of a well. There we go. Now I can hear myself. I don't sound like I'm at the bottom of a well anymore, shouting up through a tin can. Pull the string tighter. Anyway, happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you and yours are doing well. It is cold and rainy here, but hey, that's Southern Oregon. People come here because it's so green. Then within a couple of weeks, they're like, "Does it always rain here?" That's why it's so green. Anyway, uh, this too shall pass. Today, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a rehash on rest machining because I got a couple of questions about it. And a couple more questions popped up here in the chat. So I want to say, first of all, if this is your first time here, you'll notice that I have subscriber mode turned on for the chat. Um, that was done on purpose to get rid of the bots and the trolls who want to come in and try to take over a live stream by just messing with the chat. It's worked like a champ so far. The downside is if this is your first time here, you have to be a subscriber to my channel for a minimum of 1 day. So if this is your first time here, subscribe now. Then next week, you can participate in the chat with us. So, sorry, it has to be that way, but that's the world we live in today. So, we're going to get into rest machining a little bit. But first, I want to say a few words and a massive thank you to my friend Steve over at harneilmedia.com. I've been singing Steve praises almost since day one. I've known him for quite a while. I consider him a friend. And if you get a chance to chat with him, you'll find out why. It's hard to describe everything that Steve does because I don't know that he realizes how much he actually does. If you're even toying with the idea of maybe getting a website, you owe it to yourself to get a hold of Steve over at Harneil Media. If you're looking maybe set up a web store, you want to put up a simple blog. You want to hook up with a print on demand company that maybe you want to design some merch and sell t-shirts, baseball caps, mouse pads, coffee mugs, whatever, with your logo, or just you want to design and sell. Steve can hook you up with that. And that print on demand company ships worldwide. They take care of collecting all the taxes. They take care of all of the overhead, the inventory. All of that stuff is handled by somebody else. It's just your designs they're selling. I could keep going on down the list of everything Harneil Media can do for you and what Harneil Media has done for me. I got a hold of Steve last week. I need this. Is there any way to do it? Yeah. And while I'm describing what I needed done, he had it finished right there. Um, I'm not saying there's no other web developer who will do that. I'm just saying I know Steve will do that. He's very, very competitively priced. And if you've been with him for a little while, you wonder how he does it so cheaply. I'm telling you, I can. It sounds like this is a love fest here, and maybe in some ways it is. But you owe it to yourself if you're even thinking about a website to get over to harneilmedia.com, click on that contact us link, and shoot Steve a message. Let him know what you want. Let him know what you're interested in. He'll get back with you. And the great thing about Harneil Media is when you're talking with Harneil Media, you're talking with Steve, not some nameless, faceless person in a call center somewhere that you're never going to talk to again. You're dealing with Steve, the man, the myth, the legend. You owe it to yourself. Get over there, harneilmedia.com. There's a link to Harneil Media in every video and every live stream on this channel. And it's that way for a reason. Thank you very much, Steve, for everything you do. And you don't know it yet, but everything you're going to do. Don't get scared. All right. Uh, Again, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Everything. Okay. Um, Rest machining. Rest machining is one of those topics that pops up every once in a while. And the reason it popped up was due to a comment on last week's live Q&A from Dusty Woodcutter. And I hope you're here. If you're in the live chat with us, if you're not, maybe you'll see this on replay. I did say I'd talk about it today, and thank you for the suggestion. But he says, "Hi, Mark. Time permitting, can you glance over rest machining? I'm having trouble grasping the whole thing. Thanks for everything." Well, first of all, you're very, very welcome. I have no problem doing that. Going over rest machining is fairly easy for me. But Eight Sinner asked a question this morning. He said, "Honestly, Mark, you mentioned it before, but I thought it was an antiquated practice, rest machining. No?" Yes and no, Eight Sinner. It is in some ways, and it's not in others. And what I mean by that is rest machining used to be a big deal. It is no longer a big deal. The reason I say yes and no is because if you're still using any Vectric software version 10.5 or older, rest machining is a big deal and it's still a valid concern. If you're using version 10.5 or older, it was Aspire only. And there was a long process to go through. You had to um, create a 3D finishing toolpath and preview that 3D finishing toolpath. Then there was a key combination that you needed to do to create a component of from the preview. And you had to use this uh, key combination so that it created a component of every part of the 3D model that had not been carved in that preview. Then you took that component that you created and you developed a tool path or you calculated a tool path for that remaining stock to be machined with a smaller bit. And the whole reason for that was because in version 10.5 and older, you could only um, put one bit into any toolpath except the vCarve toolpath. You could use one V bit and you could use one clearance bit in a vCarve toolpath. Starting in version 11, Vectric opened it up to where you could put multiple bits in various toolpaths. Almost all of them, I think. Now, not quite all of them, but anyway, you could, um, starting in version 11, you could create your model, and then when you went to calculate your 3D finishing toolpath, you could put in a large bit that would carve most of it, then a smaller bit that would carve what that larger bit wouldn't. So what it did two things. It created automatic rest machining, and it opened it up to vCarve Desktop and vCarve Pro. Before version 11, Rest machining was only available in Aspire because you can't create a component in vCarve. All you can do is import one. vCarve is not 3D modeling software, so there was no ability to create that component. Well, once they allowed multiple bits within that, and let me bring it up, show you what I'm talking about here. Um, Shaboom, there we go. This is Aspire. We'll go into vCarve Pro. Zip over here and just go into 3D finishing toolpaths. Now you can enter multiple bits. And I haven't found a limit. I have right now an 1/8 inch ball nose, then a 16th inch tapered ball nose. I can add more bits to this. I have not found an upper limit. So starting with version 11, we can add these bits to it. We can add multiple bits. So rest machining is automatic. There's even a section down here for rest machining on the detail level that you want to use. I have yet to find a reason to change this. I have not yet found a reason to play with this. So I don't even use it. But it's available in vCarve. It's available in Aspire. It's available in all Vectric software titles that will carve 3D models. Okay. 8 Center says, so before it wasn't previewable, it isn't that you couldn't do it with the clever workflow. It was previewable, but um, that was part of the process. You had to preview the 3D carve, then you used a key combination and went up and I think the workflow was, I think you had to hit Control Shift, then go up to Model menu, and then create component from preview. Then what it would do is it would make a component of all of the material that had not yet been carved, but was contained in that model. And that's where the name rest machining came from. REST. The It stands for remaining stock. So when you carved away the bulk of the model with the larger bit, you took the preview and created a component from it. What it did, that component was the remaining stock left to be carved. Then you could create another toolpath, separate toolpath for that component using a smaller bit. So rest machining was remaining stock machining. You were machining away the remaining stock that was included within that 3D model. 8 Center says, correct me if I'm wrong. The definition of rest machining is just the process of using smaller and smaller bits. Yes, in order to carve away that remaining stock. Basically, it fills in the detail that the larger bit can't get to. I thought the term came from doing the rest of the carve. A lot of people think that, but if you notice when they talk about rest machining, usually the word rest is all capitals because it's not quite an acronym, but they took the RE from remaining and the ST from stock and come up with the word rest machining. So, but that's basically it in a nutshell. If you are using version 11.0 or later, it's no longer a thing. It's no longer a concern because you can add, as far as I know, unlimited tools to that toolpath. But before it was a big deal. And again, it was Aspire only. It couldn't be done in VCarve. So I hope that answers your questions there, Dusty Woodcutter. And I hope that kind of settles some of the mystery behind it and why we don't really hear about it that much anymore. 8 Center was correct. It's pretty much an obsolete practice or an obsolete concern because that one simple addition allowing you to use multiple bits within the toolpath, it took all of that concern away. It took all of that, all of the restrictions and everything away from vCarve users as well as Aspire users. Excuse me. Brooks Martin says pros and cons, the rest machinings. There are pros and cons. Um, in that, and this is going to be hard to describe, Brooks, it really is. It can create issues. Um, and uh, it can create issues in that when you use a smaller bit, it has the ability to get down into areas the larger bit can't cut, but it also can cause the bit to cut deeper around a perimeter. What I mean by that is, let me get set up here. Let me go ahead and add, um, bring back Aspire. And I'm using Aspire because now I can use, where's my clip art? There's my clip art. Um, I can use our old buddy Wally Gator here. And we'll blow him up a little bit so the folks can see. Go back into the design tab. Now, looking at him in the 3D view here, we've got some pretty tight inside corners here and up in here. A little bit more detail around here, around in the mouth and then around in the tail. If I, that's good enough, Wally. Take 5. We'll talk to you in a minute. If I come over here and, well, I got to go through material setup first. Material thickness is great. Everything is fine. This is going to work. For demonstration purposes, this will be okay. 16th inch tapered ball nose. If I try to carve Wally with a 16th inch tapered ball nose, it is going to be, it's going to take quite a while to carve. Um, so what I will do is I will add another bit to it. Let's go with a, yeah, I think I can go with an 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. I don't need to go with a 1/4 inch ball nose. Now the 1/8 inch tapered ball nose is the larger bit. So my boundary offset's going to be 1/8 of an inch. Now, I don't have a vector around Wally, so I'm going to use the model boundary for the car. Okay. Um, so what's going to happen is the 1/8 inch ball nose is going to come in and it's going to carve most of this. Then the 16th inch ball nose is going to come in and it's going to carve whatever the 1/8 inch can't reach. Now, this is going to sound goofy. This is going to be kind of strange here, but see if you can stick with me. When we set our modeling resolution in job setup, um, again, this is, stick with me here, okay? Um, when we go into job setup and we set our modeling resolution, in this case standard, what I've done is I've taken that piece of material, in this case it's a 12 by 12 block, of 2-inch thick material. And if you look right underneath where it says standard, I have divided that block of material into 1 million points. The entire piece of material, not just the model, because it doesn't know what model I'm going to use. All right. Now, you may think dividing a 12 by 12 block into 1 million points is overkill, but when you go down here to very high, it divides it into 4 million points. There are two more. Eventually, it divides it into 16 million points. All right. And that's what decides what the what the 1/8 inch ball nose can reach and what the 16th inch ball nose can reach is those pixels, those points. Those points are basically the pixels that make up this 3D model. It's a pixel based model, it's a depth map, it's image based. So if I zoom in here real close, you can see that pixelization. The higher the resolution, the smaller these pixels are. And here's the sinker. Here's where I'm going with this. The smaller bit can reach more of these little teeny tiny pixels than that 1/8 inch bit can. The downside of that is it can carve these pixels deeper. Because the bit can reach way down into this pixel right here, it can carve this deeper than that 1/8 of an inch bit can. So what you can end up with is a lot of shadowing around the model. Now I'm going to see if I can, let's see if we can create that with this model here. We'll calculate the tool path. And come on. Oh, I have that turned off. That's right. Okay. I have 3D finishing 1, which is the clearance that uses the 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. We're going to go ahead into the 3D view and we're going to carve that. Preview. Hello. Thank you. All right. Turn these off and I'm going to slow the speed down a little bit. And I'm going to preview that toolpath so we can see what it's doing. It's not only carving the model, it's carving around the model, an area around the model, the diameter of the bit, excuse me, the radius of the bit. All right. So we can get in here and we can see it only goes a certain distance around those smaller portions. Now let's go ahead and speed that up, let it get through quick as it can, as quick as this computer will allow it. I should have picked something else, different model. But you can see the shadowing around the perimeter of the model. You can see all this roughness right here. That the 1/8 inch bit, that's as far as the 1/8 inch bit can go because it's just too big. We can also see the same thing right here. And we'll let that go. What are you carving now, Wally? Oh, okay, there we go. Got his tail. Yeah, I shouldn't have done the 45-degree angle on the raster cut. Should have just let it go at 0 degrees all the way across. It'd have been done by now, I think. But that's what happens when you get in a hurry for demonstration purposes. Let's see here. Mm, you think this takes a while to carve? Look at all those super detailed Indian temples. The Atlanteans definitely needed rest machining. Yeah, but when you're doing it by, see, this is completely different than doing it by hand. That's just my opinion. You know, those were artists doing their job. I'm not an artist. I have problems with stick people, but I know my limitations. So, all right, you about done there, Wally? I'm not going to do the whole thing with the 16th inch bit because it's going to go fairly quickly. It's not going to take as long as this. All right, there we go. That's Wally. He's been carved. And we see all these areas that 1/8 inch bit just simply won't fit. But we also see that most of the model is carved. Now, we have the 3D finishing toolpath with the 16th of an inch bit. Let's go ahead and click on this and we can see that 1/8 inch bit cut the entire model. All right. Now we click on that and let's see what that 16th inch bit's going to do. It's going to go around the perimeter and it's going to clean up all those areas that the 1/8 inch bit couldn't reach. Now let's see what that looks like. We'll select it and we'll preview the selected toolpath. And I can't tell where it's cutting and where it isn't cutting. Um, but we'll be able to tell after. It's moving rather quickly. Hmm. Okay, we can see it's carving in down in here. We can see it's carving down in there. And it's finished. Okay. We can zoom in up here and we can see these little cusps are much smaller than they were. We can see a lot more detail in the eye. Um, it didn't leave the shadow line like I thought it would. Let's take a look at adding another bit. I'm not going to reset the preview. I am going to add another bit. Let's get silly here. Let's go with a 1/2 millimeter diameter end mill, and we're going to bump that down to the bottom. Then we're going to recalculate the toolpath, let it do its thing. All right, close, jump into preview. I'm going to uncheck all of them. Now we're going to see what that does. Turn it off. Okay, let's now see what that 1/2 millimeter diameter tapered ball nose does. See what kind of detail we get out of that. We're getting there. We're getting around there. And what else? Now the software is going to make me a liar because I'm not seeing a shadow line. Yep, I'm not seeing that shadow line. Well, just know it can exist. That little teeny tiny tapered ball nose cleaned up a lot of areas, but because I use such low modeling resolution for this live stream, we still got jagged edges on this because, again, it only divided the material up into 1 million points. Um, well, this is a bad example. It doesn't show what I was trying to show. But my point being, when it's carving out here, that small bit can um, that small bit can sometimes carve deeper here than the large bit could. It did, rather. So it's um, it's one of those cases of one of the cons being when it gets around outside here, it may carve deeper, leaving a bunch of stuff behind that you're going to have to sand flush. It's hard to demonstrate, it's hard to show because of what it's doing here. Let's see here. Sam Spade, Dave is asking if you did not add the offset, would you get rid of the outside cut? It would add time to the 16th bit, though. Correct? The only reason for the offset, let's go back into the toolpath. This boundary offset, the only reason for that is close, back into the preview. You can see how the bit carved, in this case, an 1/8 inch away from the model. Um, what that did was that eliminated a lot of this radius that would be around the model there. In other words, it carved out away from the model so that I can now come in and carve this. Okay. So adding the offset is desired, and I set the you set the offset for the biggest bit being used. Let's see here, catching up on a few. Ellen says, depends on how much you like sanding. Well, I think sanding universally is kind of considered to be a necessary evil, and that's about it. Let's see here. I thought that was just for the preview. I just bought an STL in and rendered a finish pass at standard versus very high resolution. It did add 4 minutes to the carve. Yes, I think you're confusing two things, Jack. And a lot of people do, so don't sweat it. When you set the modeling resolution here, you are setting the resolution for the actual model. It does affect the carve, okay? For the display resolution in the 3D view, when you're previewing a toolpath, when you're like this, the display resolution is up here. View, here it is, toolpath. Preview simulation quality. This only affects the preview. It has nothing to do with the carve. If you come up here to preview simulation quality, I have it set at maximum. That's one of the reasons it took so long for the preview when it was carving away down here. One of the reasons it took so long is because I have my preview simulation quality set at the maximum. This only affects the display here in the 3D view, and then only when you're within the preview window. Now, again, over here in job setup, this actually affects the model, which actually affects the carve. Now, I saw a couple of people over there mention they automatically use the highest resolution. The way you get into that is hold down Shift, then go into job setup. Now I can release Shift, and when I click here, I now have extremely high and maximum. Using maximum, it divides that 12-inch by 12-inch block into 16 million points. So you can see those pixels are really teeny tiny. I have yet to find a use for maximum. I do know the use, I just haven't needed it. Basically, the model and the project is going to decide what resolution to use. Okay. Jack says more cheat codes. Exactly. Exactly. Let me cancel this. If I don't hold down shift, go into job setup, the highest I can go is very high, which divides this block into 4 million points. But if I hold shift, then go into job setup, I can get those two higher, extremely high and maximum. Now, um, cancel. Brooks says undocumented features. Oh, it's well documented. It's just not. Um, it's just not used very often. Mainly because it really, really depends on the project. For example, if I'm doing a 3D barn star that is 24 inches by 24 inches, I don't need that level of detail. I can carve that with a 1/4 inch ball nose. I don't even need to use an 1/8 inch tapered ball nose because there's not much detail to that model. But let's just look at the clip art and we'll go into decorative and we'll come down here to some of these cartouches and various carvings. And let's look at this floral drop. And I'm going to, well, no, Control Z. I don't want to do that. No, I do too want to do that. Control Y. Let's just get rid of this. Hello. Allow me to select that. 2D view. Select that. Delete it. I am going to add a new sheet. Call it sheet 2. And I'm going to make sheet 2 active. Now I will add that floral drop. Okay, we'll get that there. And we hold down shift so we're enlarging from the center. Look at it in the 3D view. Now, if I was making this on something that was, let's say, 2 inches by 2 inches, I want to use it. No, let's make this realistic here. Go back to sheets. I'm going to select that sheet. I'm going to edit it. And my width is going to be 1.5. My height is going to be 1.5. And my Z thickness is going to be 0.125. All right. And I'm going to select very high resolution. Okay. That's for this sheet only. Back to my design tab, go into my 2D view, select that model, delete it. Now let's go back. And I'm doing this on purpose. I'm doing it for a reason. I'm going to select that component, go back into the design tab, resize, and I'm going to make it 1.0 tall, center, apply. All right. Now, this model with this resolution is not bad. Excuse me. This needs that level of detail. Right now, this is on high resolution. Whoops. But if I zoom in, I can still see a lot of jagged edges. Now, no matter what resolution I use, I'm still going to see jagged edges because it is pixel based. The difference being this resolution, can I make these jagged edges as small as possible? And with the bits that I have, can I make it as small as possible? This is a time on something with this level of detail, this small, you might need to use that real fine detail that is 50 times slower. So come back out of here, go into my job setup, hold down Shift, click, oops, cancel. I'm sorry, cancel. That's not the case. I got to go into Sheets. Select the sheet I want to edit. Hold down Shift, click Edit, come in, 50x slower, maximum 16 million points. Click OK. That's for this sheet. The problem is I've already imported this 3D model at that other resolution. So now when I adjusted the resolution after the fact, it does not adjust the resolution of the model. It adjusts the resolution of the material. So if I already have something out of here, that resolution did not change. So I have to select the model, delete, and I have to do this over again. Clip art, select, design, resize, and I'm making this 1 inch tall. Apply, close. Now I come into 3D view. I've got so much more detail. And the jagged edges are still there, but they're much smaller. All right. If I'm going to put this on top of, say, a jewelry box, or if I'm going to put this, something of this size, I'm going to make a pendant out of it. I need that level of detail because it's small.
Okay, can you hear me now? I'm just looking to see. Can you hear me now? I'm waiting to see if y'all say yes, no, or maybe. And we'll see. Can hear me now. Okay. The reason is because I switched over audio of the microphone to the webcam, which means this is going to suck. So I think I'm going to go ahead, finish what I was talking about, and then end the live stream. I'm in a tin can. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm gonna be going with something else. Um, I got some work to do out here. This has been a problem. Lower volume. Um, Lower volume again because it's using the webcam mic, and it's about 3 feet away from me. It's not right up on top of me. The only thing I was saying was using those higher resolutions, whether you're using rest machining or not, it's 100% dependent on the project. If you need that level of detail, then you're going to have to use those two higher resolutions. But you're only going to need that level of detail on small projects that are going to be held in the hand or seen close up, like a pendant or earrings or something of that nature, the back of a hand mirror or something like that. If this is going to be on a sign that's 8 feet off the ground over a door, you're not going to need that level of detail. So also remember that the higher the resolution, more than likely you're going to add machine time. Also, you're going to add machine time due to the number of bits, because you have bit changes, then those tool paths have to run. So it's going to be dependent on the project. Absolutely 8-center. In your case, large batches of small 50 millimeter highly detailed pieces. I've seen some of your work. You have to use that kind of resolution. But for most of what we do, a wedding sign with the interlocking wedding rings, that doesn't need that level of detail. I've carved those with 1/8 inch ball noses, and they look gorgeous. And the bigger it is, the bigger the model is, the less detail you need and the fewer small bits you need. Let's see. Could you lie to the machine and set the size to slightly more than Wally? That would put all the pixels around Wally. Absolutely. And that is something that they teach, Vectric teaches in their tutorials. Let's say you have a model, let's say Wally is 6 inches long, but he's got to go on a sign that's 8 feet long. You don't want to divide up the entire 8-foot wide piece of material for that 6 inch long model. So you lie to the machine. You set up a sheet that's, say, 6.5 inches by, add a 1/2 inch to the height of Wally. Say he's 3 inches tall, go 3.5 or 4 maybe if it makes you feel better. Set your XY datum position to the center, and then use the appropriate modeling resolution for that model. That's exactly the way that you would do it, Dave. Lie to the machine and tell it it's it's a small piece. You're just carving the model. You're not carving that entire 8-foot section. Does that make sense? And they tell you to do that. So you're not, again, so you if you have a sign that's carved in foam that's 8 foot long and 4 feet tall, but you got one 3D model off to one side, you're only going to carve the model on that one side. Forget about the rest of it. Divide that one size into all those pixels. So, Mama told me never to lie. Jack, did you ever stop to think and to consider that that in and of itself was a lie? Women will tell you not to lie because women don't ask each other, do these pants make my rear end look too big? Women will tell each other. You try to get away with it. Anyhow, no more social engineering on this YouTube channel. I apologize for the drop in audio. I'm going to try to have it fixed next week. There really isn't much need for me to have a headset. So unless I have a guest on, and then I'll figure it out. I'm going to go with a different mic setup that will not be attached to the cameras, but we'll find out about that next week. Channel members will find out about that tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, and speaking of channel members, without going into a great level of detail, because this is not members only, remember the Halloween Hunts CNC Challenge ends this coming Friday. You must have your submissions in by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time this Friday. Okay? After that, sorry, no, I can't, no can do. All right? So, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? I don't remember, but I've got it all written down inside. We'll get into it later. Your projects, and we're going to have a lot of discussion. Okay? So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you'd like information on how to become a channel member, great group of people, not an ego amongst them, 100% into making sure everybody succeeds, and share information to drive, to inspire each other to that goal. Success. Be it in business, a weekend warrior like me, home hobbyist, it's a great group of people. Probably the best group of people I've ever been blessed to meet. We'd love to have you become a part of it. How do you do that, you ask? Simple. Right underneath this video panel, you'll see a button that says Join. Click that Join button. You're not joining anything. You're getting information on it. That's all. A video is going to play, tell you all about channel membership. Again, we'd love to have you join us. Next week, I'm going to try to have another topic, but that's where you come in. This week, we talked about rest machining because of a comment that was made in last week's video. So this is what I need. This is what I need to know. What do you want to see? This is not about me. It's about you. Give me a topic. We'll dive into it. If you have comments, questions, concerns, put them in the comment section down there and I'll address them. All right? So, for now, I just want to say thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. I greatly appreciate it. Going through the Rolodex in my brain. And it's getting shaggier by the day. I need a haircut. I'll get my audio situation settled. You all have a great rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you next week. See channel members tomorrow. Channel members also. Last night's Zoom BS session got postponed to tonight. I will. I can't give you a time because it's depend on when dinner's done. But I'll link it in the membership page, the membership tab on my YouTube channel, and I'll also put it in the super secret private chat over on Facebook. For everybody else, catch you next week. For channel members, see you maybe later tonight and tomorrow. Y'all take care.